Hey guys, Angelo here. Last night I had a talk with my friend Otis Geddes. He recently graduated from University of British Columbia on the Okanagan campus with an honors degree in psychology. He's a very interesting kid and I think he's going to have a very bright future ahead of him. We talk about all sorts of stuff. We talk about what we got from academia, what thinkers influenced us, and all sorts of interesting content that maybe you'll enjoy. If you're getting something from these clips or these pods, feel free to hit the like and subscribe, or just relax and enjoy the opinions of some of my brightest friends. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Dude, do you think you could ever move back in with your parents for a prolonged period?
That's a good question. I kind of had that opportunity this summer, um, and it seemed like not something I like ever wanted to do. But I mean, it's pretty pleasant and like it's cheap, and there are people in this town who like whose company I enjoy. So like it's not the end of the world for me, but it's not on the top of my list either.
Yeah. Like, what do you think the downsides are of it?
Depression, anxiety, no, but like
Judgment.
some like yeah, just like constant pain. No,
Yeah.
I don't know. Something kind of seems to happen. I think boredom, like compared to like going to school and like meeting new people all the time, like it's just boring compared to that. Um, but I don't know. Now just being like even 2 years older than like when I used to come back from school, it feels like a little more like there's nothing I'm like really missing out on. That being
Yeah.
said, there is like I guess something about like just going after what you want to go after, and it's not happening here. Like this is more like a place of rest. Like this is like where I come to recuperate or something.
Hmm. That's a great point. And I've seen it in a lot of my friends where they almost make a rational case for moving back in with their parents. Like they move home, they find a job, and they go, yeah, but it's way cheaper to live with my parents. I don't pay for groceries. I don't have to pay for rent. They take care of my laundry, all these things. On
Yeah.
the surface, it's kind of like, it seems almost smart to do in some ways. But I always thought watching them, I'm like, I'm not sure if it's good to keep yourself in that state, like in the state of being a child around your parents. And you can stay in that state till you're like 25, 30, even, I
Oh
bet.
yeah.
But I've seen
Oh
people like
yeah.
25 still living like that. And I was always like, I think you're almost missing out on the skills you cultivate when you say, it doesn't matter if I can move back in with my parents. I have to make it on my own now. And if I don't think I can afford rent, I have to figure out how to afford rent. If I don't think I can do my own laundry and cooking, I have to learn it. And yeah, it is a sacrifice in a way. But I think Freud talked about that. It's like the destructive mother, um, over parenting, and kind of the detrimental effects that could cause.
Yeah. There's a couple of ways to come at it. I mean, like one is like if you're into like chasing discomfort, it's like the wrong maneuver.
Oh,
Um, Two is like it. It's almost like is it worth it? Like, what are you willing to pay for like the other lifestyle? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is the rent that you're paying somewhere else worth the experience of like living on your own and like gaining those skills? And for me, that the answer is yes. But I
yeah,
also would be
absolutely.
making a case for a decision I've already made. So like,
Yeah,
you gotta keep that in mind.
totally. I always thought that too when I would have these thoughts. I'd be like, yeah, but you've just done this now. It's like, are you just rationalizing it? Or maybe they are the
Well,
smart ones. You're the
well, I'm
one
pretty sure that's
paying.
how, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how the brain works. It's just like you make decisions based on ultimately feeling and then afterward rationalize it. Um, and I've yet to be, but
Yeah,
who knows, right?
it's so true. I wonder if how much through practice, meditation, whatever you decide to do to try to mitigate that tendency of just like rationalizing what you feel like doing. Do you
Yeah,
think you
I don't
can?
know. I Do I think you can? I mean, I guess it like if if we're holding that that is the case, because like it might obviously not be the case. Um, Maybe you can. I haven't seen any evidence that you can. What do you think?
It seems like people can get to the point where their judgment is quite sound. You know, you see it in the investment industry, you see it in physicians, professionals, where they're able to make good decisions over and over and over consistently. Now, maybe that only applies to like a specific professional field that's like easier to kind of get to the root of what makes a good decision. And maybe it's harder in your personal life, but maybe can get better at it, but you can't be perfect at it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like a string of good decisions after the fact, you know, it could just be entirely up to randomness. Um, were they good decisions or like were they just happen to be like the right ones? I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So, do you think studying psychology helps your thinking?
Do you think, okay, well, I think that studying psychology might help your thinking, like depending on how you look at it, but I don't know if like getting a psychology degree necessarily helps your thinking.
Yeah, that's a fair point. How many people in, okay, so you did psychology undergraduate degree. Yeah, man, tell us what you did for undergrad.
Uh, I came in wanting to do biology and then um, didn't really want to do like a lot of the second year sciences. Like I did fine in first year, but I like hated the work and I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do it all over again. And psychology, you can was one of three degrees that you can like still do a science degree, but like not do like it's just an easier workload. Easier depending on what you're good at, but
Yeah.
easier for me. Um, and so I ended up doing psych and ended up really liking it. So that ended up being a good decision. Um, and then I got into positive psychology just kind of like by sheer luck. I wasn't like, oh, I love positive psychology, but it kind of like aligned with a lot of stuff I like to think about. And yeah, I'm still doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. It worked out though early on. You almost stumbled into the degree that you ended up really enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, what do we not stumble into? I
Yeah.
guess.
So what do you think you liked about the psychology undergrad? Because you
um,
graduated this last semester, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this April or May or something.
Yeah.
What do I like about it? I mean, it's fairly easy for me to grasp, which is nice. It's like heady stuff. It's like thinking about thinking that I enjoy. Um, and yeah, it just like aligned with things that I'm interested in. I think was overall the top reason.
Yeah. I think something now that I'm in my last class of this undergraduate degree that I think is awesome about a psychology undergrad is that you get to study like a bunch of different, fairly diverse fields. And undergrad in psychology touches stats, neuroscience, biology, philosophy of all kinds, philosophy of mind, the psychology of economics, let's say, education. So, yeah, I did a wide range of courses. And I think that's what's underrated about psychology. You can apply it to almost any field.
That is a great point, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not one I would usually bring up, but that is a great point.
Yeah.
Super diverse.
Yeah. But okay, so why don't you think studying psychology formally in undergraduate, like, okay, where's the value in it? Or in your opinion, do you have any ideas on like where you got the most value?
Yeah, I can talk about where I got the most value. Um, I think that just like going to university, staying in a dorm, and meeting a whole bunch of people
Yeah.
that are into a wide variety of things, and is like the number one reason for me, which you can get elsewhere. But it was nice. And then also there's a ton of opportunity there. I think if you're interested in something to like, okay, there's like experts there who study that for a living, and if you really love it, they're there, and you can go talk to them, and you can
Yeah.
like find a route to doing whatever it is you want to do. So that was pretty huge. And then I guess just like as a place where like you hear about something and you're like, oh, that's like kind of interesting. I'm gonna check that out. Um, yeah, that was probably.
It's cool too on campus. They have talks, clubs, any type of club you want to get involved in, you can get involved with it. If you want to like learn how to debate, there's the debate club. Yeah, like you're saying, you can walk into any professor's office and have one-on-one chats with these highly accomplished people. There's something very valuable about that.
I think so too, and I think it's like something I realized in the like only the few months that now I'm no longer a student is that when you're in the school system, like there's a ton of opportunities that are free because you're a student. You can just go do stuff. You know what I mean? And they're always offering like all this stuff that if you're just a normal person is no longer free. So that
Totally.
is actually a benefit.
I guess even the library, like
Yeah.
you can get access to so much, and then when you're off campus or whatever, you try to like read something that's just like $25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking the other day I had to double check if alumni still had access to like the UBC archives because I was like looking up some papers and stuff and I was like, hold on, like if I don't have access to this anymore, like that really screws me
It's a
over.
problem.
Like it's
Do
almost worth
you?
like yeah, you still do.
Oh,
Thank
really?
God.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. Sweet. But yeah, what do you think like are the most valuable skills you developed during your undergrad?
Skills. Um, I haven't thought a lot about skills. That's a good point though. I guess I mean like writing. Like writing is important for everything. And
Totally.
so like, I thought I was a good writer when I left high school. Um, and it was kind of like, no, you actually have to work on it. Like you can't just like be doing what you thought you were doing because it's pretentious and it's not that good. You kind of like get knocked down and you're like, okay, I genuinely have to work at this. And then when you do that over and over and over, and it's like, okay, now I have some competence. Um, yeah, I guess specific skills is an interesting question. I think more about like the big the big abstract stuff, like but
It's yeah, I mean, I think researching might be a bit more abstract, but just being able to put together a coherent paper argument, it's writing, but it's also gathering all this info together and like putting it together. I found that pretty valuable. And before uni, I didn't ever do that very much. I don't think I had that skill.
no, like it was definitely something we were asked to do, and I did like the bare minimum of it, but like actually like doing comprehensive research is like a task, and so you realize like what it takes and like how good it can be, and then you can do it, which is like really cool.
Yeah. Do you think you messed up anywhere? Or if you could go back to your younger self and tell them something, like what knowledge would you drop on them?
I mean, I feel like it's a very cliche thing to be like you should really have like gotten out there a bit more. Um, but it definitely was the case. Like you never really can do like take on too many new experiences and meet too many new people and like pursue too many paths. Like it's just really not the case. And like
Yeah.
I think in first year, like it just wasn't. I don't know. It just didn't occur to me to do that kind of stuff. I was like everybody is like either scary or like whatever, and I don't want to go do that stuff. And so like I'm just gonna kind of play it safe. And I think it would be well worth not doing that.
Yeah, like getting out there if you want to try something, like constantly pushing yourself out of your
Yeah,
comfort zone.
absolutely. What would you say? I'm
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah. So, like, for me, coming back when I was, I think, 22 when I started up undergrad. Yeah. Yeah. 22 or 23. I did well on approaching my classes. Like, I did never slack or I messed up a few classes, but it was mostly because of burnout and like trying too hard and not like slacking on them. So I got a lot out of the coursework. I think I fell into the trap of maybe putting too much like focus on my grades and coursework and not enough on the type of experiential side you're talking about, where it's like, yo, if you study, whatever, 40 hours, if you studied 30, you probably would have only got a couple percent less. Instead of getting a 90, you would have got 85 or 86 or whatever. So I think that's one thing. I probably isn't going to sabotage your grade, and maybe you can find a good balance.
You absolutely can find a good balance.
Yeah.
Right?
I think another thing that I would have done differently, or what I told myself, is like, don't be so narrowly focused. There was benefits for me being very narrowly focused on psychology for the most part, but just through happenstance, I stumbled upon other areas of study that I really enjoyed, like economics and whatever. I think I could have went into it being like, keep your mind open and like try a bunch of different fields, and don't think that there's only one path, because maybe you're wrong. You have to get pretty lucky if you just pick one path and you just like, that's your path. Like it might not
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. And what even is there like just one path? Like that doesn't, I don't know. The more I think about it, it doesn't really make sense. Like,
I don't think so. I don't think
I think
so.
it's worth your while, like spontaneity, like you got to have a
Dude, did
little of that.
totally, man. Did you find any other disciplines that you were fired up on while you're doing your psych degree? I'm
I
overheating.
think, yeah, I really liked ecology. I ended up doing a bio minor and where I took like almost exclusively ecology courses. Like I avoided a lot of bio and took just ecology courses, which ended up being very rewarding. And for a brief period, was almost a bio major. I almost switched again.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess towards the end, like philosophy came up
Yeah.
more and more again.
So sorry, is ecology the study of ecosystems? Excuse my ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
it's the psychology of animals
Oh,
and
dang.
plants.
That is pretty sweet. Dude, how crazy is the insect world when you
It is
see?
like I've described it as like a constant horror film, and I stand by that. But I mean, it's like a number of other things too. But like, it is just insane, and it's going on all the time. It's really funny to think about.
Insane. I find it so interesting how these hives work together, and then there's like the queen that lays the eggs and reproduces, but then the majority of the workers are like identical genetically. So they're almost like
Yeah,
one entity, kind of all like supporting this queen, but they're
exactly.
all
It's like,
individuals.
where are you drawing a line on like what an individual is? It's like
Yeah.
this entire hive, and they're flying around, and like, so then what does that say about other stuff? Like, it's huge, man.
Yeah, man. It is. They work as if they're an individual almost. They're for the individual hive, and
Mhm.
they're willing to sacrifice themselves, like you see honeybees and whatever that die upon stinging. But
Yeah.
it's
Well,
crazy.
it's like our cells too, hey? Like they kind of all act individually, but at the same time together, and that makes like you walking around and thinking it's just like, hey, it's me in this body, but like it's like millions and millions of like individual cells and all sorts of,
Yeah.
and they're all doing this like different stuff, and like
And then
it's kind
it's
of
like,
hilarious.
it's not even the cell, it's a bunch of individual components in the cell. But then it's not even that. It's like the
No,
genes in the
no,
individual components that are all somehow
no.
like cooperating to
I know it never ends.
themselves on. Yeah.
It's hilarious. It's actually hilarious.
Biology, it's pretty interesting. I wonder where the major breakthroughs will be there, and if humans will ever live to like 150, 200, or if we'll get to the point in biology where we understand it enough to like really like hack it.
Like hack it. How do you mean?
Like, like be able to manipulate genomes in embryos, create what we want to create in our offspring, halt
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
aging, like, yeah, like get to the point where we have control over by our own biology, if that's even a
I think
possible.
think we definitely can, especially like the genome stuff. Halting aging is a pretty wild concept because it
Yeah.
just seems like to me like the natural thing. Like that's how like living things work. That's
Yeah.
how cells work. That's how like it's like a temporary like you're temporarily putting off like being degraded, and then eventually it's just too much, you know, and then it
Yeah.
becomes something else. So like it seems weird. Like look, we're gonna like halt the process entirely. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't exactly know either. I guess if it's probably so complicated, but if you could find like the causal mechanisms behind aging, could you like in some ways like influence them in a way that slows it down or stops it or reverses it or whatever? I have no idea. Maybe it's like a million different variables, but
I
maybe
don't
it's
know,
only a
man. Like
few. Yeah.
you might totally be able to do it, and then like can you do it and like still be the same person? Because like if I don't know if you start like replacing parts and like doing all this stuff, like are we just gonna build computers basically?
Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's how we end up doing it. We just say like we don't
Oh
really
God,
need our bodies. We're just gonna go into the AI like Neuralink type
we're gonna turn ourselves
situation.
into computers. What was that movie? Was that Chappie? Have you seen Chappie?
I haven't seen that.
It's like, and so he's like a robot, right? But like you're like being your like individual self. Like at the end, like the girl becomes a robot, and her like individual self. So like you and I would have one. She like plugs it into the computer, and then she becomes the robot, but like with her self, like whatever that is
Hmm.
inside the robot.
Imagine it was like, yeah, you can go into the robot, you can copy yourself into it or whatever. You transfer yourself, I guess. And so you're a robot and a body now. But the only way you can do this is if you have to kill off your body after. So you're essentially trapped in the
Mm,
robot. Would you
mm.
and you can live
But
forever
then
in a
like
robot.
and the interesting thing with that is like so if you're like gut and the rest of your body is like connected to your brain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then like if you get rid of those things, like what is your brain?
Dude, I think we've had this chat a while ago. I know what you mean. People always think like if you put your brain in a vat, it might be you still there. But I'm like not convinced.
I don't know, man.
You're
Like if
kind
I
of your
eat,
body.
yeah, I think so too. Like if you eat toast, it changes your brain.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's just your brain, that's not really you.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay, so here's a thought experiment. Let's say you can clone yourself. And so now you're a perfect clone and your clone has all the experiences you have, all the memories, let's say, of the experience. So it's like literally you duplicated. How long before you and that clone like diverge? How long until you're unique people? Maybe it's a moment after, but
Like how do you? I guess the cutoff for a unique person is. What do you think?
yeah, I guess like any new experience starts stacking you. It's just stacking up the uniqueness compared to your clone.
I think so too. I think it wouldn't take very long.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe you just instantly start fighting, and whoever wins that fight, one person's more paid and one's.
That's what I would do immediately if I was confronted with my clone. I would enter a death match with it.
Establish dominance over your clone.
Yeah, exactly.
Then he gets
And we're
you
just like
to know you're a
hitting each
beta.
other's fists through the entire thing, like it's a perfect.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah, it's gonna
Wild
be crazy to
scenario.
see though. Do you think you'd go to Mars if you got the opportunity and be one of the first colonizers?
I think it would depend, like today.
Yeah, if it's like you've got till the end of the year.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
At
to
on the
decide.
one hand, it's like that is just too wild an experience to say no to, but on the other hand, it's like, is it no, is it like wilder than just like living your life? I don't know.
A part of me, tell me if this is messed up, kind of goes, yo, your genes have made it this far, and now they get the chance to be the Martian genes. You're gonna pass that up. Almost like at a
Really?
biological level, I'd kind of like be tempted. I don't know if that's
Seriously,
messed
man.
up,
That didn't even occur to me. I think there's
but
something going on, Michael. I don't know. I don't
Maybe it's
know.
like a redhead complex or something. Knowing we're going extinct, I'm just like
Yeah,
tapped in.
that's a wild thought though. I don't know. I don't know about the whole genes thing. You know, somebody was saying the other day, like, you know how like 98% of your genes are shared with like chimpanzees,
Yeah.
and then like 99.9% of your genes are shared with every other human being in the species. So then, like, how much do your genes, your unique genes, actually
That's a
really
good
matter?
point. That's a
You
really
know,
good point. Yeah, that's kind of like some weird primal stuff that's like back from the like I got to be the mate,
I
whatever.
know, but it's still there, right? I like so like that. I like heard, and I was like, yeah, that's a good point. But like, it's still there. Like, your brain still
Yeah,
wants you to like pass them on for some reason.
it's almost like something that like maybe a communist or something would use to justify like a communal type of altruistic culture. But then it's like, yeah, good luck talking a mother into that idea when her babies get taken away. Don't worry, there's 99% the same genes.
It's the genes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is that like just the fact? Well, no, because it's just like a whole mothering instinct, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
But then, like, what's the difference? You know, if she has like an adopted child at that point, like, is it the same? And then, like, is it just like, I don't know, the like societal norm that like like you care about your genes, and then you care about, like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's almost like we don't often consciously care about our genes, but we care about our families more so than we care about the homeless guy on the street, etc. So
We
we care
do,
about
but
them at some
there's always
level.
exceptions though, you know, and like, why are there exceptions? I don't.
Yeah. And
Like,
it's a
why don't
good
people have
point.
babies all the time then? You know, like, why don't I have like 50 babies?
Yeah. And like, why aren't people going to sperm banks and like firing it up every second day? Like if you really cared that much.
Yeah, good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Oh man, I'm gonna have to start doing that. I'm just gonna have to
Yeah.
find a charger. One second.
Little Otis babies. Yeah, I'll do it.
Now you can like really see.
Friggin' Dunnigan, I was kind of pissed at him. He wanted to cut out 75% of the whole pod. I just said, we're not even going to put up the pod then.
He texted me something so funny. He texted me like I was cutting stuff out of the podcast, and then and I was like, oh yeah, like I heard like were cutting stuff out of the podcast. And he's like, yeah, Michael said it was like against the ethos of the podcast. And
I thought
that
so.
is,
No, I get it a
that's
little bit, but not freaking 100% of it.
yeah, no, that's totally fair. But just like the sentence, like, oh yeah, Michael said I went against the ethos of the podcast. It really cracked me up. It was like very Michael thing to say.
No, I mean, he's doing what he's got to do. No hard feelings about it. But I was just like,
Yeah,
bro,
yeah,
friggin' 75% of the content, we talked about some great stuff.
yeah. Sounded like you guys had a good conversation. Let me get
But,
going this way. Maybe I can do like a cross-legged thing. If the tie-dye shirt and the long hair wasn't enough.
dude, that's
All
cool.
right.
That works.
Can you see me at all or no?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Are you
Okay,
comfy
back to
though?
business. Yeah, yeah. Pretty good. I've been working on my cross-legged, so this is
I
nice
was
for me.
I was thinking about that today. How often do you stretch, man?
I stretch a lot. I stretch every day.
Dude, what does that do for you? I never stretch pretty much.
For me, I have like I just need it. Like if I don't stretch for 3 days, like I start to get sore and tight, and so it's like actually really helpful. Um, and like you can see yourself like getting more flexible and stuff, which is really cool. And it's also just super relaxing. It's like one of my favorite parts of the day.
Dang. So you're at the point it feels good to stretch now, not
Yeah,
painful.
yeah, it's like a really cool process. Like once you go, the longer you go, the more you like know how to stretch different stuff and like feel yourself out and like know what you need to stretch and when, and like that's just like pretty cool. I like
Yeah.
that a lot.
And man, do you have any buddies to play music with back in your hometown, Squamish?
I do. I have a good friend who was my roommate for a lot of years, and he actually went to UBCO. So
I do.
well, you met him. His name's Stelvin.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, his dad and him are both very musical, and there's like guitars over there and stuff, and
Yeah.
so very nice.
So you'll be jamming.
Yeah, hopefully we get some time to do it. It always goes by
Matt.
quicker than I expect, but
Yeah. I found that when I was at home last time, like trying to balance a friend time, family time, and all of that. It gets harder as you get older, I feel like. Or maybe it gets easier in one way of looking at it because you just optimize for family time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Isn't it amazing though how like you're like, I have a week, and I always see it as like, I'm going home for a week. Like I have a week to just like relax and like work on this, work on that, and then in an instant, every day is filled with something to do, and then you're home again, you're back again. It's like, oh my God,
Yeah. Isn't that the story of life, though?
it's true. It's
It's
true.
just flying by. It's
Yeah,
kind of
you keep
creepy.
waking up, and then eventually you don't.
It's interesting, though, to start thinking of your days like in just like 1 day increments of
All
like,
right.
yeah, and the type of things that are most valuable to put into your like repeated day.
It is kind of crazy, hey. Like if you can really like, cause yeah, like I feel like it's almost like a almost like something we say. It's like live in the moment. Like you're gonna die one day, and your life is short. But like like when it actually like hits you that like you have a certain amount of days. How are you spending like this day? It's really weird. It's a really weird
Yeah.
thing to think about.
Just the scarcity of your time, and then simultaneously how willing I am anyway to like watch YouTube about something like I don't know about or care about at all, like frickin' the homeless crisis in San Francisco and shit. Like, what am I
How
doing?
wild is that?
Yeah.
It's almost like the default state, and you have to like work to not be just like wasting all your time.
I wonder if it's something to do with just how easy it is to like live vicariously through other humans and how much easier it is. You know, it's easy to
Yeah.
do because you can do it on YouTube and you don't have to do anything. So it's easier.
Yeah. So like even you're like watching other people and like looking at people's Instagrams and stuff, and you're like, that's just like life's experiences right there.
Yeah, you're like kind of getting something out of it vicariously, but it's like a trick.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Dude, where do you think you waste the most time, let's say?
Waste the most time.
By your own definition.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, holy crap, that's like a good one to think about because I'm thinking like it's the thing that I don't like doing and it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if I like doing it, I'm happy. But if it's not doing anything for me, then it's because you can get a lot of dopamine just like scrolling Instagram, but
Yeah.
it's doing absolutely nothing for you. Um, I honestly, I've definitely been wasting a lot less time on the phone than I used to. Um, I could probably say that though.
That's great to hear though.
I could probably say that. Yeah, I think like it's not even that just like being on the phone, but it's the general process of like avoiding something. If I'm avoiding something, I'm wasting time.
Yeah. It's a great way to put it. Even like the tendency to, you should be doing homework, but you're cleaning. It's not exactly wasting time. I guess you need to clean in some way, but you're still procrastinating.
Yeah, totally. What do you think?
I think for me, it's YouTube. And
Mm,
it's tough because it's like I get great stuff from YouTube often, but there's like a
mm,
diminishing returns where it's like listening to YouTube 4 hours a day when I'm driving and like sitting and all this stuff. Like, I don't know. It's like there's a chance you run into a gem, but you're sifting through a lot. And so maybe it's not worth it, to sift like that. Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
I have a question though. Do you think there's a place in your day for like using YouTube or whatever it is, like something that you just like kind of mentally check out and it's like you're relaxing?
I think so. Like, I've been kind of tossing on the Twitch streams to do that lately, a little
Really?
bit. Yeah, well, I got like because I had this month off of like any type of coursework, and so I started playing StarCraft 2 again. Then I started watching StarCraft 2 on Twitch, and I was talking to Dari about it. And I'm like, this is actually like the first time in quite a while where I've had something that's just like completely like no information, really, nothing useful. It's just like legit, just like relaxation streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe
Oh,
that.
great.
I don't know. Like, do you think so? That there's like a
Well, I absolutely do. Um, do you think that would you call that wasting time?
it's kind of serving as like I've been watching it not too aggressively, but kind of just as a relaxation thing. So
Yeah.
maybe it's wasting time, or maybe it's not an optimal relaxation activity because like Dario obviously knows nothing about StarCraft. It's kind of like no one cares about it. So maybe I would be better off going for a walk or just like reading or something instead. Something a bit more substance. But as of right now, I don't feel like I've wasted too much time on it.
No, that's good. I think sometimes, you can do those things. Um, and it's good to do those things. And like reading and walking, while like fantastic, it's almost like you need to check out of that even. Like you need to check out of like just like being, you know,
Yeah.
that's I don't want to end the sentence there because it sounds like you're like gonna die or
Check
something.
out a being. It's almost like the the positive feeling that comes from like just getting lost in a TV show
Yeah.
or like
Once
checking
in a
out of
while,
reality. Yeah.
you just like you just like almost like submit to just like trashy YouTube video, like whatever it is, and you're just like, ah, I'm out. I'm turning off the light switch here.
Totally. So where do you think you do that if you do it?
I usually do it and still feel happy about it. Like if I like work and then do it for a little bit, or if I spent the whole day like like really being good about like just doing one thing at a time and like not like using it as like a distraction or like or to avoid something or whatever. And like I did that all day, and now like there's 20 minutes of whatever, and like there's nothing else I really need to be doing. I think that's a good time to do it, and I still feel pretty good after it if I like limit it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably a fair
Yeah.
answer.
It's like if you crush off the checklist or what, however you think about it, the rest of your time's up to you to squander, do whatever you want, and so
Yeah,
you can feel good about it.
yeah, not too bad sometimes.
Man, Cass Dunning, in this question, I'll ask you to
Mm.
who do you think are some thinkers that have influenced you the most thus far in your life or changed your perspective the most? Or like we talked about Sam Harris, Tim Ferriss, and people like that. Do you have any people like that?
Um, the first guy that came to mind was Kurt Vonnegut
I don't
because
know.
he's a writer.
Okay.
So I guess he's not like a thinker. Like that's like not like his job,
Sure.
I guess.
No, it kind of is. I would say.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit, right? He wrote just like he wrote um, weird ass books, man. But like it was actually like when I met Dunnigan, um, he gave me a few of his novels, and they're like I think they just at the time were like, oh, holy shit, like someone else like thinks like that, like it was a
Mm.
very like, oh, cool, like this is out there, like this is like in the world, and that was like really exciting time. Um,
It made you feel like you could relate with someone that maybe hadn't met in your personal life, or they're doing a good job of articulating what you felt, or what do you mean by that?
kind of just like the that way of looking at the world was like one that was acceptable and one that like a
Mm,
lot of people actually had, and like yeah, I guess it was just like oh, okay, that's like fairly normal, but then like exciting because like okay, here's like a place to like explore these ideas. Um, so yeah, I guess a number of things.
yeah. And does anyone else come to mind?
Thinkers. Um,
Even musicians count.
hmm. Well, there's definitely a lot of musicians who have like done that within music. Um, not necessarily like within my life, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, how about you go, and then I'll think of some while you're answering.
Yeah, I think for me, um, Sam Harris taught, really made me realize like, oh, like there's so much that you haven't considered in a lot of your opinions. I think just because he was very articulate, thorough, and put out like a counter narrative. Jordan Peterson did the same thing. And a lot of people do that, when you read them and they give you the flip side to what you thought was kind of a done deal argument. And
Hmm.
you go, oh, like there's so much more to this than I ever even knew to consider. Like I didn't even know what I didn't know about it.
Yeah,
And now this is
absolutely.
like breaking my worldview. So there's been a lot of people. The most recent person is Nassim Taleb. Very
Hmm.
interesting takes on, probability, risk, and academia, and even forming a career and things like that, where
Hmm.
I hadn't heard those ideas or many of his ideas put out there. And
Yeah.
it's pretty inspiring when you come across someone who like really has a unique take that makes sense and is well founded. It's almost like you're almost like, why did I not think of that? It's so obvious now that it's broken down, but no one else has realized it until this book,
That's
or maybe,
that's so impressive. Like such a such a big idea and such an original idea, but that someone reads and is like, oh yeah, like obviously.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap, man! Like you got to be smart to be coming up with stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the reason they sell millions of books and whatever, because it is a crowd. A lot of people try to do that. They can't manage
yeah,
it. But did you have
absolutely.
any classes that like really changed the way you look at the world?
Huh. Um, like some of those third year psych courses were um, fairly big for me. I mean, it was almost like they just came at the right time where like that was something I was interested in and thinking about. And then like to hear it every day for however long, like gone over like that, I was like, but it always felt somehow like self-initiated, like because you could show up to a class and they could like teach the exact same class, but if I wasn't there to like be interested in those ideas, and then like pursue them after that, then it just wouldn't be as like, you know what I mean?
It's a great point.
Um, I guess like drugs and behavior was one of them, but again, like I like had read that Michael Pollan book like the summer before then, and like was something I was thinking about. Um, but then to have it, put to me like that was like, okay, yeah, it was like that is um, super cool, super big idea, like bigger than itself.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. What do we?
Well, that drugs and behavior class was one of them, for sure. Like I hadn't actually ever heard about like kind of a thorough exploration of the history of the drug wars, the history of prohibitions, how they're kind of like a reoccurring pattern across history. States will, it's not exactly arbitrary, but they'll take a common substance and make it illegal almost because it's beneficial. So
Yeah,
oftentimes,
yeah,
the idea that, yeah, states have used it to, discriminate against certain populations, and how hypocritical we are in our society where we'll have a synthetic version of a drug that is prescribed commonly, but then the natural derivative of that drug, like opioids, come to mind. It's completely illegal in Schedule 1, and you're putting a bunch of people from impoverished neighborhoods into prison for like 25 years for even getting caught with a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And just those observations are really like, yeah, those change the way I look at the world. Another one was an economics course. It was called Austrian Economics, and that's a school of economics that talks about, where money comes from and how banks essentially facilitate the money supply, and how through this facilitation of the money supply, there's almost like unfairness built into the system. Governments and banks can print money. The people that get their hands on the printed money first get wealthy from it because the money hasn't been distributed. And so there hasn't been any inflation. And so as the money gets distributed across the society, inflation takes place. There's more dollars. So each dollar's worth less and less as it circulates. And yeah, there's kind of like this intrinsic, like, I don't know what it is. It's like governments can almost like steal from their citizens by printing dollars, right? By devaluing currency to reach their means. And it's completely unfair if you're not one of the lucky bankers or the asset holders or whoever benefits first. That was another one where it's just such a thorough like exploration of these ideas that I was like, holy, I've never thought of this before, but it's really messed up and I should probably learn about it. I'm probably going to be poor.
That sounds fantastic. I feel like so many opinions like or like somehow revolve around the economy and how it works, and like to get the basics like really delved into, I think would be pretty helpful, like just for that reason.
Yeah. Well, another thing I've realized now, like diving into economics more deeply and kind of understanding these like foundational theories about it. It's a very complicated system, obviously, but there's like decent theories about, money circulation and macroeconomic theory, they call it. So much thinking and ideology put forth, like especially on the progressive side, does not consider it. I think they don't even know what they don't know about it. Right. So unless you know how our economic system works from the ground up, it's hard to form like pragmatic ideas about how to address certain problems because your ideas
Right.
don't have like a grounding in something that's gonna really work. Like if you just say, just like tax everyone and then just pay the other people. And that's how you fix poverty. You just tax and pay, or you print money and you pay subsidies and people can have unlimited welfare or whatever your idea is. It's like when you learn about these fundamental theories, you go, oh, there's downside costs to approaching an economy like that. And often the cost is everyone's poor. Right. So, so yeah, just little observations like that from studying economics have been very valuable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely missed out on in the degree.
Yeah. Think you'll ever go back to academia?
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
definitely
guess
in the cards, I think.
you've applied a few places and you're aimed at it.
At least one.
Yeah, at least one. How are you
Yeah,
gonna approach applying and like trying to get it moving forward?
I just need to take a little more. I have more time now, which is nice. So I need to just do a little more in depth. Um, I think it's worth starting at this point early on and like getting an idea of what's out there, and then like really giving it a good thought. You know what I mean? Like really going in and like, hey, this professor looks cool, but let's like actually read his work. Like let's get acquainted with it. And then I guess just like get involved somehow. Like, if you have a question or whatever, like reach out to them and like, make them know you're there, but in like a way that's not like just, hey, like consider me, because I
Yeah.
want this, but like this is something that I really care about.
Yeah,
Um, so just like more, I guess comprehensive than I did the first time, which was like just to like take a quick look and then like send it off.
totally. Just get it in. I guess it is like a skill, just like anything else, eh? Like writing like those interesting letters. I guess it's more like actually caring, like you're saying. Like if you actually
Yeah,
care, comes
it's so
out.
much easier to do stuff when you
Yeah.
like give it time. Like, oh my God.
And when you're like, so I applied to a job today. I found this interesting technology company in Calgary, and I looked into it pretty deep, like you're talking about, and like I genuinely want to work there. And so like, like I wrote like a pretty thorough letter and I reached out to the co-founder directly and like all these things, and I'm hoping it shines through. But yeah, it is easy. And then there's no regrets at the end of the day because you're just like, yeah, that's actually what I think. If it doesn't work out, hey, that's life. But
Exactly.
yeah,
I know. It's just like it's absolutely the way to go. It's like if you're informed and informed, not just like to cover your bases, but informed because like you give a shit. I think it does shine through, and then also like it's just so much easier for you, and so like the things you're submitting to them are better, and like the work you're gonna do is better, and like just like and then if you
yeah,
like you said, like if you get rejected, it's like damn, I really cared about that. Like what's next?
yeah. And it's like you
Instead of like
mean it, you mean what you
yes,
write down. And
yes,
so,
changes it completely.
and it's just like, even if you think about interviews and stuff, it's
Yeah.
always like, if you just say what you actually mean, it
Yes.
goes well if it's supposed to. If it's not supposed to, there's nothing you could do. But
Absolutely. The interview is so wild. Like I've done a couple of them recently, and like I don't know, I've just like the way people prepare for interviews and the things people say in interviews are like like it's such a bizarre process. It's like not what it is. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
not. It's almost like there's very little saying what you mean going on in there.
Hmm.
Um,
It's almost like if you say what you mean, it's almost the vibe that gets you the gig, not
yeah,
even exactly what you're saying. Although it is a
yeah.
bit what you're saying, but it's more like, oh, this guy cares or whatever. You come off as congruent.
So weird how that just like we just like pick up on like those kind of things, and we like what we hear and we like what we see and we
Yeah.
remember it.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting to think like how much of the interview process is just trying to get the vibes. And if they don't like trigger you in some negative way, you're just like, ah,
Yeah.
it's good enough.
Yeah. Like a friend and I were having this discussion about like because he is an artist and like I play music and just like how like sometimes like you can be playing for people and like kind of get in your own head about like like that you're playing for people and then you kind of lose the feeling of the thing and people notice that. And it's so amazing that like we're not experts in any of this stuff. We're not like experts in music, but you can show up to a concert and like when notes are not being played with like I say feeling. I don't know who the hell knows what it is, but like we know what that is, and it's the same situation in these like interviews. It's like we know like when people are on.
Yeah, it's so strange. I mean, you feel it when you're talking to people too, just maybe on a date or anytime
Yeah,
where, or if you're in your own head and you try to talk to people, it never goes well. If you don't even think about what you're saying,
no,
it sounds counterintuitive, but it goes better.
yeah, and you're not enjoying it. I think people
Yeah.
also like if you're enjoying it, it shows. Like when people
Hmm.
like that, they're drawn to that.
I guess that goes back to what we talked about before, where it's like, are you just your brain, your cognitive side, or are you you're you're the most charismatic when you're almost like everything is aligned, like your emotions, your cognitive side,
Yeah,
and yeah, all of it.
yeah, it's definitely all together.
Yeah, dude, what have you interviewed for, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah, sure. I interviewed to be so they teach these courses for first year students um during the summer, and they're like introduction to like university writing, introduction to like university math, and there's one called like Live Well to Learn Well, which I'm assuming had something to do with like study habits and like well-being and like that kind of thing. And they take like TA positions. They're not like taught by instructors or anything. They're just like they're online. They're self-taught, and then there's like people who like deal with problems when they come up and like oversee them. And so I applied to be that.
That's sweet.
And yeah,
They
that
for
one was
credits or
cool.
anything?
You mean for the students or for the?
For the students.
I don't think they. I don't know if they get credits. I actually don't know.
Okay, yeah. That's sweet though.
I guess people are worried about that, and so they take the courses. I don't know.
Yeah. Just give them like some good tips.
Yeah.
These courses, hopefully.
Yeah. And then I recently applied for the census, because they pay quite well.
Oh, dope.
And so I heard back from them, and they put me in like a backup position.
Okay.
Which is not a position at all. It's just like if someone like I guess like quits or something, I get to take their job.
Just doing stats for them?
No, like just like walking around and like knocking on people's doors,
Ah,
being like, "Hey,
dope.
did you like fill out your census?"
Yeah.
I wish it was stats, but yeah, so I applied to them. Those were the two like that I like heard back from and like talked to the people about, and did the whole process. And then like a bunch of others that I just never heard from. So
Sweet. Yeah, they're hustling.
sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, the job hunt, man. It is a grind. I put in maybe 4 or 5 applications. Heard from one that just said you're no longer being considered. Haven't heard from 3 of them. The one I put in today, though, hopefully I have the best chance of getting, but we'll see.
That's the one that you like reached out and were kind of
Yeah,
about.
this is the one where I was actually genuinely psyched about it.
So what do they do?
They're they call them a fintech company, financial technology. They're called Neo, and they essentially are like in kind of like, yeah.
It's like so like new wave. It sounds like it's like a like.
Yeah, it's new wave. It's like a bank on an app, essentially, just like a much more convenient bank. But the reason I really like them is because they're kind of like trying to improve Canada as a whole through providing a better financial service for like us individuals and young people. Like they have better like cashback rates, higher interest rates, are built on modern technology, unlike the actual banks. Like I guess Canada has some of the highest banking fees in the world still, right? So they're trying to drop the fees down. So the product's better. But what really made me fired up about them was then they're also incentivizing spending at local businesses by offering like extra points or extra cash back at their partners that are Canadian businesses. So, instead of going to Walmart, if you go to the local place, you get a bit of a discount. And so, it's simultaneously helping the individual and the community. And then if that takes off, you're helping Canada as a whole just by like keeping the money at home instead of sending it to the States or China or wherever. So, so I just liked that idea and I got fired up about it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Like
Yeah.
Incentivizing the local business.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
and so they're like a bank themselves?
Yeah, so I guess they're considered a bank, although they're not a physical bank, but they manage funds. They have like a checking account, a savings account, and a credit card. Yeah. So they're providing banking services, let's say, and I guess they're probably regulated as if they're a bank, but they're kind of a bank built on modern technology.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be super cool to work for. And what was the position that was opening up for?
So the one I applied for was a partnerships role, which is, from my understanding, like reaching out to businesses around Canada, local businesses or other partnerships, maybe in the financial industry or whatever, and just like working on the team that facilitates that, bringing on new like merchant partnerships or business partnerships and stuff like that. So I think that'd be sweet. Also because I just love like learning about new businesses and like maybe like trying to sell their value proposition and
Yeah.
like kind of owning the process of like bringing on new people to like a service you believe in, I think would be fun.
Yeah. No, it seems very like fiery and like, like action oriented. Like that seems like it'd be pretty cool.
Totally.
Definitely like in it.
Yeah, totally. It's like, it's kind of one of, JP's ideas, Jordan Peterson's, where it's like, do something that's good for
Oh, we're
you as
calling
an
him JP.
individual. Yeah, I call him JP now. It's my online bro, let's say. But
Right, of course. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's like if you can do something that's good for you personally and your community,
Yeah.
and well, it's you and your family and your community and your country all simultaneously. That's kind of
Yeah.
where you want to be. And like these tech companies, if you find the right ones, like they provide a pretty good opportunity to do that. And I'm hoping Neo is one of those ones. So I'm going to keep trying to get a job with them. I'll
Yeah.
pester them for maybe like a month or something until they like
Absolutely.
give me a restraining order or something. But
Either a restraining order or a job, one of the two.
yeah, exactly.
Perfect,
But
man.
yeah.
Super exciting.
Do you have any ideas of a ideal summer job?
Um, the ideal would be some sort of research. Friend actually sent me a couple today from UC Van that look pretty cool. That would be perfect. And then after that, I mean, I don't know. I just kind of like want something that I is hopefully like a little bit creative. Um, and there's good people that work there. And if it's relevant, if it's not relevant, even if it's like loosely relevant, like the census one is like not really relevant, but you put Stats Canada on a resume, that starts to look okay, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And just that I like it
Yeah,
would be
totally.
a nice thing.
I guess
Um,
too, like anything that expands your horizons almost like that's relevant, even if it's not directly relevant, if you get to see kind of the ins and
I was
outs of
gonna
a
say,
different industry.
yeah, exactly. And like out of your comfort zone, which is I think like most jobs do, especially at the start, like getting a new job does that. Um, but I don't know, I think like the most rewarding things like put you out of your comfort zone frequently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you can start to deal with that, then you're like you feel good.
So true, eh? It's weird.
It's super weird. And you're like your entire body revolts against you. Like, no, we're having none of that. Don't go anywhere near that. That's a
Yeah.
terrible idea. And yet you just like you're like, screw you. I'm gonna do it. And then you do it and you do it semi competently. And it's just like a great time.
Yeah. So something I've been thinking about for a long time. Tell me what you think of this. Everyone kind of judges risk differently. And I think a lot of people, they're about like 10x wrong on how risky something is. So when I first started thinking about this, I was going camping with one of my friends at a music fest, and there's like Tent City. And so he had driven his parents' car up there, and he had left his car keys like hidden in his tent. But we like got halfway to the music festival, and he said like, "Shit, man, I left my car keys in my parents' tent. I can't get my car stolen." And so we have to like go back and then like get these keys, and so like I can keep them safe, which on the surface I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. But when I really thought about it, I'd say, okay, well, what would it take for someone to steal that car? First, they'd have to pick your tent out of all of the tents. They'd have to be sifting through tents in a very busy tent city and like
Yeah.
trying to steal. So just right there, like that's very
It's okay.
unlikely.
Yeah. Very
Like
unlikely.
that's pretty unlikely. There's hundreds of tents, and they'd have to pick yours. Then they'd have to
Yeah.
be ballsy enough to try to like actually be down to steal a car.
Yeah.
Then they would actually have to find your car before they stole it, just with
Yes.
your keys, right? So
Yeah.
you're already like you're stacking up the improbability to the point where it's like that's not going to happen. But then they're going to have to actually follow through with the crime, and then they're going to have to get to the point where they somehow escape and don't get
Yeah.
caught by the police, right? So
Yeah.
it's such an incredibly unlikely tragedy that not a tragedy, maybe that's the wrong word, but a incredibly unlikely like risk
Mm.
that you can just probably leave your keys in your tent like 1,000 times and they won't get stolen, or maybe 10,000 and nothing bad will happen.
Yeah.
And I think we do this like all over in our life.
Yes.
And it's like goes back to like trying something new. Like your mind instantly goes to the absolute worst case scenario without considering the odds of something truly terrible happening, which are very, very small compared to the upside.
It loves the worst case scenario. It like
Yeah.
exists in the worst case scenario like all the time. And like, man, like you just presented with like new opportunities and it's like right there, first thing, here's a reason not to do it. And
Yeah.
like weird reasons like keep coming up and like just feelings you can't quite like shake
Yeah.
and like it like puts you in like a bodily like state. Like it's just like an insane process. And I
It's
don't
like
like
irrational.
it is.
It's like
It totally
completely
is.
irrational, but very convincing. And we just instantly go the irrational, like worst case scenario fear.
Yeah, extremely convincing, and it's you doing the convincing. It's like your own, like you know what I mean? Like you're arguing
Yeah.
with yourself. You're not really arguing, but like it's like it's like you're producing. Well, you're not, but like your own thoughts are telling you not to do it, and like yet you can still do it. Like what a weird, bizarre, you know, state that is.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I guess it makes sense. Like the common explanation is like, yeah, the person that was paranoid about the noise in the jungle and thought every noise was a tiger.
Yeah,
When it was a tiger, they didn't get eaten. The person that was optimistic was like, ah, that's
yeah,
not a tiger. They
yeah,
got much. So
absolutely.
it's like pre-wired into us. But when you really like, I've started thinking about that, it's like, it's like how long could you leave your house unlocked before someone broke into it?
Yeah,
Probably years, maybe. I don't know, but a long
yeah,
time, depending on your
that's a good
area.
point.
So
Yeah,
if you leave your house unlocked, should you beat yourself up over that? Like, I mean,
yeah,
you might as well mitigate the risk, but it's not that risky.
no,
Yeah, it doesn't deserve the reaction you often give yourself when you forget to lock it and you beat yourself up over it.
no. Or others give you. I've been in that situation with roommates before.
Yeah, yeah,
Leaving things unlocked. And, oh my goodness.
yeah. It's like the end of the world, but
Yeah,
statistically, it's not.
no, it's really not.
There is something that though to being like, don't take. You can just easily lock it, so just lock it.
But I
It's
think in
yeah,
those examples, like
yeah,
it's just a matter of like, well, why don't you just lock it? And then like that, then it's really improbable.
yeah,
Um, but there are like I think you're right that it's like a pervasive across a lot of different things that we do.
yeah, yeah. I wonder if it plays into career picking. Okay, so do you think that idea of like not being able to like rationally think about risk, etc., plays into career picking, where we're so concerned about picking the right career or whatever, but in reality, it's like maybe I don't know, maybe it's not that hard to pick a great career. We put too much like pressure on ourselves or whatever.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I think it definitely would keep people from pursuing stuff that they would like perceive as being too difficult or like like as soon as you see a job comes up and you're looking through and like you actually could do that job and you'd be great in that job and that'd be a great career. But when you see it, your brain says like, oh, you probably don't have the experience for that. You probably don't, and you just keep scrolling. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
right there, like at the
yeah,
very first stage. Um, I don't know. The career question's been interesting. Like for me, like I definitely don't think um, that it's a one that it's one thing by any means. Like I think there could be 1,000 great careers that like, but it's just getting one of those, I guess.
yeah. I guess too, it's a kind of trial and error process.
Yeah.
Where it's
Or
like you don't,
fortunately,
yeah,
or fortunately, I don't know.
yeah.